In this 100th year of motion pictures, Oscar celebrates women and the movies. But is that a joke?
Basically, that's what I think. It's the year of the missing woman.
A male producer of action movies said to me, the only women in my movies are either naked or dead.
Tonight we talk about why there are so few good roles for women with studio head Peter Guber and actress-producer Goldie Hawn.
This is ABC News Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting from Los Angeles, Barbara Walters.
If tonight's Oscars were to be a celebration of women, why are there so many actresses making faces? Consider this survey of Hollywood 1992, done by the staff of Premiere magazine. Of 129 major studio releases, only 5 were directed by women. Only 19 were written by women. And strikingly, in only 24 films was the protagonist, the central character, female. Women fared better as producers, 49 releases produced by women. We'll be joined shortly by actress and producer Goldie Hawn. But we begin by letting some other women of Hollywood sound off.
1, 2, 3, great. It's supposed to be the year of the woman in Hollywood.
Yeah.
A lot of people have great concern that that's kind of hypocritical.
Yeah, I do too.
What
yeah.
do you think?
Basically, that's what I think.
It's the year of the missing woman.
Well, I don't think there's any question that there are very few roles for women, and there haven't been for years.
Oscars celebrating the year of the woman in a year when we really haven't seen very many opportunities for women in film. And there's only one movie that features strong female roles out of all the nominees.
Great.
Go.
We tend to be leaning towards real one-dimensional female characters, and that beauty and glamour and bodies and hair and seem to really be taking first place. I think it gets tiring for women to constantly go to the theaters and see caricatures of women, and women that they're never going to be able to live up to, and women that they really can't identify with.
Get down!
Women's roles tend to be secondary to men. They play off the man. When she's running the show and the action really comes through her character is considered a woman's film when that happens.
You don't like me very much, do you?
When I did a film called Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and there was a lot of awards won. Ellen Burstyn won an Oscar. I was nominated. And all the actresses said, we're going to see films about women. Now, it's 18 years later, and I can name them, probably on 2 hands.
Action.
You don't need your job anymore.
Yes, I do.
There are not enough good parts for women. Actually, most of the good parts for women are on television. It's still very difficult to get films with women at the center of the story. And there's probably 4 good parts and features a year, maybe.
See, Mark? Okay, let me see what happens, Rosie Madonna.
I think that there were quite a few good films directed by women. League of Their Own made a lot of money and was terrific, and had within it probably more women's roles than all the other films added up this year.
75 Baker, take 3, Marker.
What's going to happen is very soon there are going to be enough women directors working who've made in their careers a large body of work, and very, very soon we're going to have a woman nominated for Best Director at the Academy and Best Picture.
And cut.
We're cut.
You're getting a larger number of women who are experienced, who can direct, who are not directing, but looking for the opportunities. And I think that what happens is eventually the pressure behind the door will force the door open wider.
When I came back from shooting Gas Food Lodging, there was an article in the LA Times that I just pick up, and it says, 11 films last year out of 280 or something like that were directed by women, and that's a good number. And I totally freaked out.
Action.
I feel like
my stuff is probably, you know, out of my experience as a woman, you know. It's like the kinds of things that shaped my life, I think, really shaped me because they were experiences that could really only happen to a woman.
Hi, it's Judy Hoffman calling.
I wish I could do something about it. She's just terrified of the part. You know, she's scared. Yeah, the nudity involved scares her to death, and she says nothing he could say could make her not feel nervous. I know, it's a great part, but, you know, being a woman, I gotta understand it. First of all, there's fewer opportunities for women to get starring parts. There's just fewer scripts that are written with strong female leads. I think that sort of begins the circle, where if there's fewer parts written for women who are starring, there's fewer opportunities for women to star in movies and prove that they can be draws to an audience. A man's salary can you know, double, triple. That's much, from movie to movie, that's much less likely for a woman.
There have been a number of times up until I earned the reputation of being a fiscally responsible, tough producer that the studios thought that I needed someone backing me up. I want to make sure that the changes that she wants are the changes that we want. There was really a sense that women should do small, intimate women's pictures, and that we shouldn't be tackling the most technologically difficult projects out there. And I'd like to think that at least in that one sense, I have been a trailblazer. But in the beginning, people would actually say to me, how can a little girl like you really expect me to believe that you can make a big picture like this?
We're meeting today to talk about a special issue we're publishing in August of 1993, devoted entirely to women in Hollywood. There has never been an actress who has been able to work past 45 in Hollywood. They disappear from the screen.
In fact, they are pushing the wall back. Susan Sarandon should have been out of work 7 years ago, just like Tuesday Weld was out of work when she was that age.
Well,
so these people are...
Fonda pushed it until she was 47, 48. I mean, she kept working for a long time and finally decided to retire. But I think that's right. There are a whole generation of actresses now facing the 40-something crisis.
You reach a certain age, and you just don't work anymore. And so to look at somebody's career and say, oh, I admire their longevity, for a woman in Hollywood right now is really a difficult thing to do.
There's 750, there's D.
When, please?
I think suddenly Hollywood's waking up to the fact that if they program more for women's movies, that it may be very good for business. There is a huge and somewhat untapped female audience out there. These are the people who made big successes out of films like Fried Green Tomatoes.
Don't be mad at me, Ruth. Ozzy, I'm not mad at you.
I matched it to the scene for before and after. Okay.
Can you glimmer this up?
That was hot enough already.
When I thought about how to assemble an opening piece for the Oscars, what I decided that I wanted to do was rely on the films that had affected me personally. And so I immediately started watching the films that I remembered seeing as a kid. And indeed, most of them were as moving and effective and staggeringly intelligent. I mean, they were intelligent films about intelligent, strong women.
We all look to movie images, I think, to reinforce who we should be, what we should think about. And if you lose the ability to see yourself on screen, what does that do to you?
We'll try to answer that question and others when we return with actress and producer Goldie Hawn and the chairman of Sony Pictures Entertainment, Peter Guber.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Folgers.
In a city where outstanding restaurants come and go, the sign of the Dove has stood the test of time. So when Folgers wanted me to switch their crystals for our coffee, I put both our reputations on the line.
It's delicious.
It's rich. He wants another cup.
This is Folgers? I'm impressed.
This is terrific.
Looks like both reputations are as good as ever.
Can I have more?
Maybe better.
Folgers Crystals. Coffee rich enough to be served in America's finest restaurants.
It can talk to computers. It can talk to fax machines. It can talk. It fits in your briefcase. It fits in your business. It fits in your life. But the remarkable thing isn't just what it can do. It's what it can become. Introducing PowerBook Duo from Apple.
There's a special kind of feeling, a special kind of trust.
For over 60 years, Cook's has been the South's trusted name in termite and pest control. And we back our work with the ultimate guarantee. Your complete satisfaction or your money back. Cook's Pest Control. Our superior training means superior results.
Looky, 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 here comes Cookie, Cook's Pest Control.
Do Texaco food marts really have everything?
Oh, they have gum, cheese, candy.
Many reasons I come to Texaco.
Chips, cereals, nice people.
There are many reasons.
You want it, they got it. If they don't have it, you don't need it.
Isn't that candy that pulls apart like that?
Did I skip something?
Visit your Texaco station and food mart for unbeatable System 3 gasoline.
Pop comes here for System 3, and I come here for Pop. Right, Mom?
And just about everything else.
I'd recommend it to anybody. And I would too.
Tomorrow, child abuse. Can it be virtually eliminated? A solution in paradise to one of society's ugliest problems on ABC's World News Tonight.
We first met her back in the 60s on television's Laugh-In, but Goldie Hawn has the last laugh. She's one of the few successful female producers, her first big hit as star and producer, Private Benjamin. Goldie Hawn is one of the few actresses who is over 40 and still commands good roles. She joins us from Honolulu. Peter Guber was one of Hollywood's most successful producers. Rain Man, The Color Purple, Batman. So successful that in 1989, Sony Pictures Entertainment made him chairman and chief executive officer of their studio, formerly Columbia Pictures. Under his leadership, Sony Pictures has jumped from last to first place in domestic box office sales. His newest movie is Sleepless in Seattle, directed by a woman, Nora Ephron, and starring Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. Mr. Guber joins us from his Hollywood studio. Goldie, looking at you, I'm convinced that the reason that you're going on and on is because you look so divine. You look 25. Okay. Tell us, why are there so few roles now for women?
That is such a difficult question. It's a very frustrating, and has been very frustrating even within my own company and for my own career, to find good ideas for women. Being on the production end of it, I understand that in order to make money, what people want to see today, or the masses of people, is sort of action-oriented films, and this generates income. And when you generate this kind of income, this is what basically the studio heads and the people that put money up want to put their money into. So therefore, we went through a period of a time that was very, very aggressive behavior, pictures that were sci-fis, action-oriented, a lot of killing, a lot of violence. And guys do that really well. And when you put a woman in that position, nobody wants to see her do that, which I understand. I think we're entering into another time now.
Peter Guber, what is that the reason? Is it because the male action pictures make the money, so you keep doing more and more and sequels? Aren't women films successful?
Well, it's a complex question, and it defies an easy answer. Let me say that it's not called show, it's called show business. These companies all run on capital investment and capital return. And you have to look at some of the dynamics at work. One of the dynamics are that the business is at least 50% driven by international revenues outside the United States. And traditionally, films that are male-oriented, more action-oriented, tend to get a greater return on the investment. So companies making their investment plans bear this in mind. A film like League of Our Own, which Columbia Pictures, one of our companies, produced, Penny Marshall was the director, and it was filled with women and Tom Hanks, and it was enormously successful in the United States, well over $100 million at the box office. It fared much, much less successfully overseas. Not unsuccessful, but far less successful. That shows you that the fact that even if it's successful, films like that do generate less revenue from those other markets. That's one reason. But a second reason is films aren't made in the abstract. They're made from the heart. They're made based on stories. The place to look is not at the actress, not even at the director, but at the story, which is the center of the whole process.
Okay, let me ask you something about that. Goldie, you know, in the 1930s and 40s, which you don't remember, but, you know, that was the age of smart women with Betty Davis and Dietrich and Katharine Hepburn and Barbara Stanwyck, strong, smart women. Now, most of the women in films are either bimbos or crazy killers. What does that say about the writers?
I don't know what it says about the writers. I would look more towards society. It seems that the stronger, when the women took their bras off, there was a reaction. And it seems that men do drive the truck. You know, we have a tendency to have sort of a backlash, I think, that what we're experiencing right now in terms of our own power, of women's own progression. However, again, I hate to talk in the negative. I agree with everything with what Peter says. And in terms of society and the way we're growing and moving, that's really what we mirror, you know. I mean, it is an art form. Of sorts. It's a business and an art form. And we reflect really what it is people can identify with.
We have two companies, TriStar Pictures and Columbia Pictures, and the efforts of the men and women, we have 3,000 people across the country in our company, and over half of them are women. And the chairman of the Lowe's Theater is a woman, president of TriStar is a woman, president of marketing is a woman, and all these women are looking at films as women. And we understand that women motivate movie-going, so we're very sensitive to it. When you say the word bimbos, I don't think they're bimbos. I don't think Meg Ryan plays a bimbo in Sleepless in Seattle. I don't think Mercedes Rule, another picture directed by a woman, Martha Coolidge, plays a bimbo in Lost in Yonkers. I don't think Barbara Streisand, another person we're in business with, played a bimbo in Prince of Tides. And I really don't think any of the women in League of Our Own were bimbos. I think what we're talking about is attitudinal more than operational. I think our companies represent an attitude, and increasingly so, that women motivate movie-going. It isn't about fair. Fair has nothing to do with it. It isn't even about ethics. It's about good business. You have to be a bimbo not to recognize that women make up more than half of our society, motivate movie-going, and are a tremendously positive resource in storytelling. So the question of the marketplace.
And yet you say that it's mostly male action films because they work globally. I want to come back and talk to you about another thing. If women represent women, why is it so tough for a woman over 40 to be considered sexy and desirable? But oh boy, you got the Pacinos and the Clint Eastwoods and the Robert Redfords, and they're still going strong. The age-old question, age and women. We'll come right back and ask you both about it.
At nearly 1,000 locations, beautiful mornings begin at 8. Super 8 Motels. 1-800-800-8000.
You shrink from human contact. You avoid each other like the plague. You are not you yet. Morning breath. It's as if the sticky, pasty film in your mouth is affecting your mind. But there's hope. There's Scope. Scope's antibacterial action kills millions of morning breath bacteria. So no wonder Scope helps get your whole mouth clean. Suddenly your breath's minty fresh, and so's your outlook. Morning breath's a problem, but you can kiss it goodbye with Scope.
Now at Goodyear, you can save 50% on the second tire when you buy one tire at the regular price. That's half off Goodyear Premium All-Season Radials for cars and light trucks. Any way you look at it, you save. Only at Goodyear now.
It's Andrea Gale's new spring standout. Hot sophistication. With a kick of bold color and all-out glamour. You know the attention is on you and you love it. But then again, you wouldn't have it any other way, would you?
Dress it up and cast the night. Oh, yeah.
Did I really buy a new Ford Probe today? I mean, I didn't get bounced around, flim-flammed, or wrestled to the ground. I didn't get dragged back and forth to the sales manager's office. I got the car I wanted at a price that I was happy with. I really feel good.
At Bell Ford, you're supposed to feel good. We put one low price right on the windshield, a price we can all feel good about. The new Bell Ford. The only one-price Ford dealer in Nashville.
These women all say this man cruelly abused them. One fact makes their story especially horrifying. This man was their gynecologist. Primetime, Thursday.
We're back with producer, actress Goldie Hawn and the chairman of Sony Pictures Entertainment, Peter Guber. Goldie, you began producing quite a few years ago because you said it was the best way to really ensure the kind of roles that you wanted and the kind of roles you thought others wanted. Would you, in general, hire an actress over 40 if you wanted to have somebody really sexy to bring in the box office? Or is age a consideration with you as a producer?
That's a hard question. It depends, obviously, on the story. You know, it depends on the role. Age doesn't mean a lot to me in terms of sexuality, but you know, I mean, I think that the older we get, the sexier we can be. I think yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, are you having any trouble getting roles, or are you the exception?
No, I don't know that I'm the exception. I must tell you, I've always felt a little bit on the outside of the team. I don't know why. Maybe it's my own problem, but being funny, I was always felt odd, you know. So I never felt part of the mainstream ever. I was never an actress in terms of like other ones that get lots of roles and lots of offers. I never did. I just got certain movies came my way and I thought, gee, I'll do it and that'll be great. And it sort of turned out okay. But women need to feel good about who they are. And as you get older, you know, to own your own sexuality. And that's really what we're talking about, isn't it?
I guess it helps to be your own producer and own your own studio, to have your own sexuality. Peter Guber, what about it? We hear about the, you know, in the working place, there are women who are older in television. You can go on after, there's life after 35. Do we still have the same kind of restrictions about age for women that we used to?
I think that built into the system, because the movie-going audience, especially the repetitive movie-going audience, is very young, that we see reflecting in our films that element, and that women, as they tend to get older, there are less parts for them. But that's because there are less stories being presented or developed that fit that model. What I think you have to say is sexiness or sexuality is both part of the mind and the body. And I think in the story element, in the stories that we deal with today, we present a woman who is a reflection of our society. And I think the change isn't going to come about, and I'd like to see that change. I think Fried Green Tomatoes, and I think Driving Miss Daisy, and lots of films that represent women at an older level are really critical for our society if we're going to be a beacon as opposed to just a mirror of our society. But where it comes, the change won't come at getting an actress who's 47 a role. The change comes at 6 and 7 years old in the schools and in the family, where they deal with men and women and their relationships. When that equality happens there, and the passion and the inspiration is equal between the sexes and is equally given by the teachers and the institutions, I think we'll see a reflective change in the films.
Okay, Peter Guber, let's wrap this up by you telling me we're starting when, and when they're 6 and 7. You're the head of a studio. You can make any kind of film you want. Are you going to make more women's pictures or more male action? The truth.
Well, if I can get Arnold Schwarzenegger to do Last Action Hero, which Mark Canton did, and we can get Stallone to do an action picture, we'll do those. And we have Barbara Streisand do her pictures, and Nora Ephron her pictures, and Penny Marshall her pictures, and Goldie Hawn her pictures. We're going to do that. We're in the idea business. We'll take them for wherever we can get them and support them. They have to be good. They have to be talented. Age isn't the factor. It's good and talented. No one goes down to the Lowe's Theater and says, let's go down to the theater. I hear there's a 47-year-old actress in a picture there. They talk about the story and the film.
Goldie, we'll give you the last word. How do you see the future?
First of all, I love Peter.
Not just for Goldie Hawn looking sensational in your almost strapless dress, but in general, how do you see it for women?
No, I agree with Peter 100%. I love what he's saying. We're moving forward. Women are making a mark. There are more of us working. There are more of us feeling good. We're all playing in the sandbox together. I know it's slow. It's always slow, these kinds of things, but we're making a difference, and it will be great. It will come out. We will do great pictures, and we'll do pictures that matter. And there's a place for women, there's a place for action, there's a place for all of it, and it's up to us to set the pace. And that's something we have to understand. We can do it.
Well, on that optimistic note, on Oscar night, I think we'll end in a high, and we thank you, Peter Guber and Goldie Hawn. May we see more pictures about women, for women, and starring Goldie Hawn. Thank you very much, and we'll be back in a moment.